Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Anona from thealignedlover.com. In today's video, I will be discussing both Kibbe type recommendations and conventional body type recommendations when it comes to Lynda Carter, who is both a flamboyant natural and also has an hourglass figure. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel and like this video so that I can continue to grow. Let's just briefly talk about her silhouette before we get into the details. Lynda is a flamboyant natural. She has that dominant vertical to her. She has that broadly angular sweeping frame. She has that musculature that is typical of a flamboyant natural, and her face has that beautiful broad openness to it. She also has an hourglass figure. Her hips and her shoulders are approximately the same width. She has a very curvaceous chest and hips and upper thighs. She also has a very small waist, giving her that hourglass shape. Now comes the important question. What is dominating Lynda's body? When you look at her, what stands out the most to you about her physicality and her persona? And to answer this question, it's really worth contemplating the philosophy behind Yin and Yang and the symbols and associations that naturally come up when we think of either ends of the spectrum. Now, Lynda has that hourglass figure. The hourglass is a symbol that is strongly linked to female fertility. It is a symbol of accumulation of resources and energy. It's a magnetic symbol. The hourglass magnetizes energy towards her. She absorbs it. She looks lush. She has that yin concept manifested in her shape. Oppositely, yang can be represented by more tall, statuesque, straighter, broader figures, and they symbolize extroverted power and action, will being exerted onto the world, onto the environment, energy directed outwards and dispersed, which is conceptually yang. I know some people have some hangups about the yin and yang terminology, but I think if you just kind of study the philosophy behind it, it doesn't have to be limiting. Rather, it can just help you contemplate these different associations we share as a collective, and it can really bring another level of richness to any yin-yang based styling system that you are interested in. Now, when I look at Lynda, who played Wonder Woman, I really see a very strong, statuesque figure, and I associate her immediately with power and action and dynamism. And then after that, I see her lushness and her hourglass figure. So for me, the tallness, the yang aspects of her physicality and persona dominate. Now let's get into some actual outfits. For conventional hourglass recommendations, you really want to emphasize the waist so much. It's kind of the central shape or central theme or dominant aspects of the hourglass body. Without accentuating the waist, the shape gets lost and it no longer exists as an hourglass. And many times this also comes with recommendations to apply more fitted, rounded shapes to the shoulders a little higher so that the chest is also fully represented, or it isn't obscured. And secondary to that, the hips or the lower torso region can enjoy a little bit of firmness or tapering as well to really define that tapered curve on the sides of the body. Now, oppositely, Kibbe recommends flamboyant naturals to relax on waist emphasis, even if they have a tiny waist, because it disrupts their strong vertical line. Now, looking at these outfits, I think that Lynda looks better in this outfit with the more relaxed waist emphasis and the more open and free kind of neckline that doesn't necessarily really emphasize her chest and the smallness of her hips compared to her waist. And her shoulders are just like loosely defined, especially with these gorgeous voluminous sleeves. It's very free, it's very open. I think that is much more flattering than this outfit, which is very much tapered with a very strong waist emphasis. I think this one looks a little bit constraining, especially if you were to imagine seeing her in real life. Lynda is 5'10", if that helps you imagine. So moving on to some separates. For conventional hourglass bodies, it is recommended to balance the upper and lower body because of the balance within the actual hourglass shape, and to again create strong explicit waist emphasis. Now for flamboyant naturals, a more relaxed or drop waist or blouse over waist effect is recommended, and the use of balancing top and bottom isn't really a theme. It's more about creating a beautiful vertical that has some texture to it, different elements. You don't need to strike symmetry or this sense of really emphasizing the balance of the shoulders and the hips when it comes to the flamboyant natural recommendations. So here on the left, this very, I would say, explicit waist definition with a strong horizontal created by the skirt waistband and the flaring of the dress skirt and the shoulders, creating that, I guess, superimposed hourglass shape on her. I think it doesn't look as free and natural on her. It doesn't look or read as a second skin, and it's not really playing the strength of her body. Whereas in these two outfits, you have less waist emphasis, but you're really noticing the length of her body, the gorgeous broad sweeps of her body. Her beautiful shoulders are being suggested, and we are still seeing her hips here, but we're not seeing this kind of 50-50 balance between shoulders and hips. Instead, we're seeing the length of her torso and the length of her lower body working as one beautiful unit that isn't overly blended, and it looks more lively, it looks a little bit more rugged, and it looks more natural to her body and to her persona. So moving on, again, we are looking at different ways of representing the waist or not exaggerating the waist, and the dominant shapes being created by the outfits as well as the edges. So here we have a more broad jacket. Some would call it boxy because it's not super tailored. There's not that very strong waist definition to this jacket, and it's a little bit longer, so it's obscuring the hips and the upper thighs, but I think she looks absolutely gorgeous in it. It's really emphasizing her beautiful shoulders, her height, and she's really pulling off this broader print or pattern, and there's nothing super sharp about this outfit either. We're also getting this continuity from the black on the jacket, the inner layer, and the pants. Now on this outfit here, we are getting a lot of that hourglass accommodation with a higher neckline, really showing off the shape of the shoulders, really showing off the waist, really hugging the chest and the hips and the thighs. And we have this more dispersive kind of shimmery print that is meant to really show off curve, because if you think of sequins on a ball, that's going to be more accommodating of curves. Like think of a disco ball rather than something that would accommodate more broad angularity, like bigger, bolder prints that might overwhelm curves. So here, I don't think she looks as natural. Here she looks more, I think, confident and open and free and strong. And here, I just think this dress is a little constraining. But again, we're comparing these two bodies of recommendation. Here we have two very different dresses. On the left, we have these strong diagonal horizontal sweeps, big bold shapes, and an emphasis on a sweeping figure with a more heavy kind of fabric. On the right, again, we're seeing more of that hourglass accommodation with this very strong belting, the higher neckline that really emphasizes the shoulders and hips being kind of in line with this lacy pattern, and the flaring of the skirt, which is kind of like balancing the shoulders or the chest. And I think this one's, again, a little bit constricting. It's not celebrating the broad, beautiful sweeps of her body. So now I just want to show you some outfits that I think celebrate her flamboyant natural frame while still celebrating that curvaceousness in different ways. So here, obviously you can see her chest and we're seeing her leg, and I'm sure if she's moving, you can see more of her hips. So we have all of this emphasis on verticality and broad sweeps and fluidity and freeness and openness, but we're still suggesting that curvaceousness of her chest and her thighs, her legs, and her hips. Here we are really seeing more of the outline of her silhouette, but it's presented in a way that's a little bit more relaxed. There's no belting. We have these gorgeous volumes on the sleeves to add a bit more of that playful sweep to her figure. The skirt doesn't flare out, so we're not trying to strike that balance. The hips and the legs are really able to shine. And here we have this more fluid top, but we have these tighter, shinier leggings on the bottom, which can really help create that very lush lower body image. And here we have a few outfits that I think really celebrate her beauty. She is a statuesque queen. She can pull off these big, bold sweeps of fabric and these gorgeous big details and patterns. And I think that really helps speak to her persona. She was Wonder Woman. She has that vivacity and that strength and that extroverted charisma to her, more so than she has that more kind of like petite lushness and that magnetism that comes through like small, intricate shapes. Of course, you have to honor all of your aspects, and what's most important is playing with the proportions. How much are you emphasizing this aspect over this aspect, and is that congruent with the proportions of your own body? And that is how you successfully play with all of your different facets while honoring your frame. And really, it's all about celebrating what you have and really looking at yourself and asking, what is the most dominant aspect? And what are the other aspects? And how can I represent all of them in a way that is congruent with my actual image and my actual internal energy? And that is a hard question, and that's why style is a journey. So that is it for today's video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.